Check.
They see me smile. They don't know the inside.
I think you're going live.
I am live.
Neighbor joker, neighbor joker, neighbor joker. That's all the money that we work for. A £2 note and a get up this. A £2 note and a get up this. A £2 note and a get up this. This is all the money that we work for. Money neighbor, money neighbor, money neighbor, money. Money, I know what you can have it, money.
Kissed by the warm breezes of the Caribbean, this orange beauty has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, large modern kitchen, and a living room with an open concept. This lovely home is within walking distance to the sea, where you can take a dip in the salt waters and feel refreshed. Verone's Cheerful Country Manor, located at Tushin, West Coast Demerara. Bookings are available on Airbnb. Contact Veronica at 516-524-1559 for more details. We hope to see you soon.
Claret, go. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. A clean voters list or no election. A clean voters list or no election. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. Compromise, the officials must go. Compromise, the officials must go. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. The biased judge must go. The biased judge must go. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. Stop electoral fraud. Stop electoral fraud. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. Dear Auntie Claret, what will your legacy be? Dear Auntie Claret, your name will be written in infamy. Dear Auntie Claret, what will your legacy be? Dear Auntie Claret, you're a known PPP lackey. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. A clean voters list or no election. A clean voters list or no election. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. Claret Singh must be on the move. Claret Singh, an old PPP stooge. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. Go, Claret, go, Claret, go, Claret, go. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I'm your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is the 23rd day of September in the year 2022 at 7 hours 25. Welcome! I trust you had a great day yesterday, a wonderful night last night, and you're re-energized today to deal with this wicked and vindictive, corrupt cabal, to survive and fight back in this apartheid state. Yes, I hope you are re-energized to remove the stumbling blocks to democracy. I hope you are energized to fight the fight and restore the black man's dignity. Welcome, I'm being poetic this morning, very poetic. Welcome back. Yes, it's Free Talk Friday, so we can talk the thing. We can talk all kinds of things. We got enough things to talk. Right? This morning I want to know what happened to black people. I really want to know what happened to black people. What happened to black leaders? Where are the coffees and the acrobat? And the Kwaminers? And the Nanakolis? Where are black leaders? Where is the community among black people? Where is the community among black people? Why black people are allowing themselves to be beaten and treated like common animals? Why? That's what I want to know. I want to know all of that. And I hope somebody can answer me this morning. I should just open the lines and let y'all call and tell me what y'all think. What's wrong with black people? Who is this now? What's wrong? It's Free Talk Friday, so doing as I like. Good morning, how may I help you? Well, it's Free Talk Friday, so you would like to tell us something about National Insurance Scheme? All right, well, let me open the lines right away and give you that opportunity, man. Why not? This bar, Jagdo Cash Cow. Morning, caller, your life.
Yes, caller. I wanted to say something about the National Insurance Scheme. I've had the opportunity of opening the doors in 1967 of that organization. Today, I sit here without a pension from that organization. Now, PPP...
Caller, you need to turn on the device in your background. It's being distracted. It's a distraction.
Okay, sorry. Yes, PPP had all intentions of destroying the National Insurance Scheme. Cheney made it clear he wanted to break the scheme in the early days. I remember we had a struggle with the cane workers who actually injured themselves and then made claims, so as to put the burden on that scheme. When the PNC left power and PPP took over, one of the first things they did to that scheme was give their friends loans from those contributions of workers and employers. LAPARCAN became big out of national insurance loans. They didn't have to pay back any interest. I want the people to know that what PPP is doing now, today, against black people, is what they had planned a long time. Right? That minister that comes on your program, Jordan, this is some of the faults of the government, the AFP and new government response. When I wrote Granger and I told Granger that I wasn't getting my pension, Granger sent me a letter to where I was living out of this country, passing the matter to Jordan. I went down to see Jordan. Jordan never even saw me. He comes and he makes a lot of talk on your show. When he was active, he didn't have an open door. So these are some of the ills of the society. We don't help each other when we're in power. And those people help their people. I'll say that for now, and thank you for the time, sir.
Thank you, sir. Before you go, what year was that loan given to LAPARCAN? Because I mentioned it on my program previously.
I can't remember, but it's when they came into power, I was not in this country then.
Okay.
But when they came to power, they gave loans, and I know because the person who was heading the department, the NIS department as the financial head, he and I are still friends. So I know.
Do you know the value of that loan that was given to LAPARCAN?
Pardon?
Do you know the quantum of the loan that was given to LAPARCAN?
I can get that information for you.
Very well. Our people need to know. Because I did mention it previously, that I know that a lot of these so-called big successful Indian businesses actually got their capital from NIS. Right?
Yes.
Well, I couldn't give a clear list of all of them, you know.
Yes.
So I'd like to know that. Thank you.
Yes, PPP intended to break that scheme. That was their motto, to break it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And so we have the ball rolling. You're being told or reminded of something that I mentioned previously. That in all the talk about big businesses and big successful Indian businesses and so on, a lot of them got their start. You know, I just started the program upside down, but let's do it, no problem. I have no problem with that. Call it live, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Happy Friday to you guys over there, all my black brothers and sisters, coalition leaders and members. That caller is correct. I believe I mentioned that on your program too. When Jagan take over the country in 92, LAPARCAN borrowed billions of dollars from NIS. And when Jagan dead, LAPARCAN never paid back that money. I got good soul. Oh yes, that call is right. If Mr. Jordan was working then, he should know. But Ramtatan is a man. Have to know about that loan that LAPARCAN take and bill. Take black man money from NIS. I only call that to represent that caller. But my thing this morning, I want to let the coalition know. Stop wasting time. Stop taking black man kindness for weakness. Because you do something totally wrong. And I agree with Mr. Mark 2 nights ago. The time you take to go and sit down with this wicked private secretary, blaming the coalition for rigged election, and who also agree to plunge the country down when Jagdio said that he would tell the private sector not to do business, plunge the country down. When you have always said, whenever black man say you pledge to, you don't get stoned. Jagdio don't go and reach them already telling that, and them agree. That makes Jagdio not going to vomit it out. The coalition is doing totally wrong. Jack Dio is using these groups right now for sit down with the coalition for just to make photo. That's all. Because did they come up next day and talk anything wrong thing? Nobody, the government? No. The time the coalition doing that nonsense, protest with you guys. It's 3 men, 4 men keeping, looking after for Guyanese. It's you, the man in the ring. And Mr. David, where the coalition them? We don't want no more rally. We want protest. Rally don't change a government. It's protest that change government and bring out election and make that go. When the coalition take office, they must knock out GCOM. For 25 years now, GCOM only representing the PVP only. And they must knock it out, cancel that, and come up with something new. No more GCOM. I always say it. No more GCOM. The fine print. You love to read fine print too, like me. The fine print for them to keep that meeting with the coalition. Jack, you tell them, hey, sit down with them by because money coming, December coming, and we don't want the country shut down. You guys got to make money because we pay not money. Black man love to spend. Black man will spend them last for Christmas. So talk things what they want for here and said yes to what them say. But nothing coming out of that. Because the private sector protecting their business for December. Because they must get a hint that the coalition is planned for shut the country down for the holiday. So them jump to where was the private sector all this time for sit down? No, it's time for coalition. We find print and be head of Jack Dio. Why Jack Dio got to be head of coalition? Coalition is more than one party. Wait, no one cannot reach to the line. That is why the private sector is sitting down with them now. Is to keep them soft and don't shut the country down. I'm looking to see what the coalition doing for the Christmas holiday. Thank you very much for your time. Happy Friday.
Thank you for your call. Yesterday I said the businessmen around the city got their interest to protect. And so maybe they went there to sit and talk about how they can protect their interests. This caller might be right, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know these things. I have no idea of these things. I'm not a seafarer man. I see somebody wanted a trench. Well, I don't know if it's a trenchy for sure, but sometimes some people just blow hot and cold. And I'm getting the impression it's a trenchy. The trenchy refers to me as nice man. You know what nice man is, boy? Nice man. That's what the trenchy calls me, nice man. Yes, I'll say this, and I will say this. It is upon us as a people to hold our leaders accountable. If you got to struggle for leadership, you got to struggle for leadership. One of the things with people, I think, humanity in its own, the human race in its own, a lot of us go for personality as against substance. I don't know if you can separate the two, personality and substance. But in my mind, some people got a nice, charming, charismatic personality, but they lack substance. Right? And in this society, I'm addressing this society because I know this society. In this society, a whole lot of people go for personality, especially in the black communities. We like personalities. Why do you think Barnum was so loved? Personality. The man is a top man. The man is educated. The man is a charmer. Right? He could meet you where you want him to meet you. He could code switch. Yes. People like that about Barnum. Barnum also had depth. And he understood what it meant to lead not only a nation named the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, but also its people. A lot of people missed what he was trying to teach and lead them to. Right? In black societies, if you are not seen as a talk man, as a charmer, nobody wants you to lead them. Despite the fact that you might have a lot of depth, you might have a lot to offer. So long as you're not the kind of personality that they respect, you're doomed. Look around in this society. Outside of Granger, the PNC had 2 leaders. Both of them were lawyers, you know. Or 2 leaders who became president. Both of them were lawyers. Founding leader, Fox Burnham, was a lawyer. And many argue that his prime minister, Hamilton Green, was his ride or die. According to history, they say Hamilton Green would do anything for Burnham. And naturally, the world was expecting that Hamilton Green was going to be anointed the next president after Burnham. It didn't happen because Hamilton Green wasn't a lawyer. I don't know what Hamilton Green was outside of minister and so on. I don't know what was his area of specialization. Those of you who are older and more aware can enlighten me to that. But he wasn't chosen as leader. Desmond Knight was another lawyer. After the Desmond Knight era, we came to the Robert Corbin era. Robert Corbin never got the support of the PNC the way he wanted it, or the way it should have been. He never got 100% support. He never got ride or die support from the PNC. As a matter of fact, rumor has it that one particular person said, "Who? Robert Corbin? Robert Corbin can't leave me." He ain't brighter than me. Right? Robert Corbin might have had the ability to do the job, perhaps, to win an election for the PNC. But he was not a bourgeois, not a middle-class red-skinned man, not a lawyer, not an economist, and so did not possess quote-unquote equalities that a lot of black people like to see as leadership qualities. And so he didn't get that overwhelming support. And we saw what happened. The fortunes of the PNC kept going down and down and down and down until they reached a percentage that it looked as though the party was going to disintegrate at elections altogether. And the APMU was born out of the wisdom of Robert Corbin. But even though he had the wisdom, the foresight to cause such a coalition to be formed, he still couldn't lead that coalition because he recognized that the party doesn't have that respect for me and will not support me to the hilt, the kind of support that is necessary to win the national elections. So they went on a search for an acceptable national leader, an acceptable leader for the party. They came up with who? A brigadier general or whatever Granger is or was. Personality. Granger is easygoing. He's charismatic. The PPP call him what? The sanctimonious gangster is sanctimonious. And stuff like that. But we like that personality. And they got the support. Everybody truly support behind that personality. Why am I telling you about personality and leadership? Out goes Granger. In comes what's my name? Aubrey Norton. In comes Aubrey Norton. And the same challenges that Hamilton Green had and Robert Corbyn had, Aubrey Norton has. He's not being supported to the hilt because he doesn't fit the personality traits that black people like in leadership. Sorry, I can't take this call now. I'm on a train of thoughts. Right? And so you're seeing hell. Or some people would say you're seeing hell. The support base is saying enough is not being done by him. Enough is not being done by him. We're not seeing enough. But have we stopped to ask ourselves why this leader doesn't feel emboldened enough to really push the envelope? Here is a man who became leader under tough conditions. He really had to fight to prove that he can lead. And so when you get to the position of leadership now, you have to prove to everyone that you can succeed. And that in itself becomes a demerit, because I dare not try this thing because the possibility I can fail. And if I fail, they will use it to crucify me. Huh? If I fail, they will use it to crucify me. Let's teach you something. I teach you this morning. A lot of people get vexed though, as I teach. A lot of people get vexed as I teach. The Norton that everybody looked to become leader of the PNC is the Norton of the past. What? What are you saying? What are you saying, Mr. Amsterdam? Yeah, it's an Norton of the past. In management, we have something that's called responsibility and delegation. I can delegate a task to you, but I'm still responsible for the outcome at the end of the day. As we like to say, the buck stops with you, the buck stops with the leader. And so when Norton was out there back in time, leading protests day in, day out that shut down the city and trying to overthrow the government or so, or trying to cause the collapse of the government, Norton wasn't going to bear the brunt of the responsibility at the end of the day. The buck didn't stop with him. The buck stopped with Desmond Hyde. Maybe Norton was delegated to do what he had to do. He had the delegated authority to do it. But the buck stopped with Desmond Hyde. And so if Norton had failed, it would have been a failure of Norton to Desmond Hyde, but Desmond Hyde would have been seen as a failure. He had to account for that failure. I hope you all are understanding this. Right now, the buck stops with Norton. Norton is the ultimate leader. And so Norton takes certain actions and fails, or delegates authority for certain actions and they fail, he is seen as the failure. And since he knows that he doesn't have the kind of support that is really necessary from his party comrades in and out, I am arguing this morning that he's timid. Ah! Fire on the mountain! I don't care. I care, but I usually call it as how I see it. And so some people might be vexed and so. Charlene, you got me blushing, girl. You're too smart and handsome. Right? So Norton might be timid. How do you embolden a timid child? How do you embolden a timid child? All of you, or most of you, are parents here, grandparents and so on. How do you encourage a child that is timid? In some instances, you have to hold their hands, right? to convince them that, hey, you can cross this strip of wood, you can cross this bridge without falling overboard and so on. You hold your hand. You do that. You embrace them. You reassure them that they have your undying support. Right? Isn't that how we do it? Are we embracing Norton and reassuring him that, hey, we with you because we recognize you as a leader of 217,000+ people? Are we doing that? And so are we emboldening him? Is 100,000 persons coming onto the streets and say, Norton, come join us in this protest? We want you to lead us in this protest because you are our leader. I take your bet if you got 10,000 people out there and they make that call, Norton will turn out. So we keep asking, where is the leader of the opposition? Where's Norton there? Right? But the Bible story says Norton might be hiding from the Lord. Norton might be hiding from the fear of being embarrassed by his supporters not turning out. Have you ever assessed that? Kinaky Amsterdam has nothing to lose, really, you know. As the host of BUXTONIAN Morning Time, as an executive member of the WPA, I have nothing to lose, so I can go there and risk it all. Can Norton afford to do the same? Y'all answer that question. And then come back and ask, where is Norton? Right? You look to leadership, you look to personalities to leadership. I believe, I am blowing my own horn, I am offering leadership. Protesting GCOM and calling for a clean voters list is not sophisticated. It doesn't call for sophisticated leadership. So even if you don't believe that I'm sophisticated enough to lead the country as president, I believe I'm sophisticated enough though. Right? If a University of IFLOC graduate can do it, what about me? Back to the point. Right? You don't need sophisticated leadership. Quite frankly, you don't need Aubrey Norton out there to lead a protest against GCOM. You need quote-unquote foot soldiers out there to lead a protest against GCOM. When you need a leadership of Aubrey Norton and other sophisticated people, is when GCOM or the corrupt cabal, the apartheid government, is ready to sit at the table and negotiate the terms and conditions of cleaning the list. Right? That is when you need Norton, and that is when you need all those who you consider sophisticated. Putin is not fighting no war, you know. Y'all see Putin fighting any war? I think yesterday I read or I heard that he has called up another 300,000 reserves to active duty. And they got protests in Russia over it. But Putin ain't fighting no war. When Putin will come to the table is when it comes to negotiation time. And we have to understand that just as there is delegation and there is separation of powers, we have to understand that there are different tiers of leadership. Right? That is why in your workplace you have the floor manager, or as they call it, you have supervisor, you have middle-level management and so on. There's this once you're raising, what should I say, a philosophical question there. Some people believe leaders are born, others believe leaders are made. The case can be made for both of them, I don't know. But we're not talking about that yet still. Right? So I'm saying that, listen. Let us stop for once. Asking where is Norton, why he's not on the protest line. What you can ask is, where are the quote-unquote generals of Norton? Where are Norton's generals? Where are Norton's soldiers? Why they are not on the protest line? Right? And in the absence of Norton or his generals, you look at the protest line and see who is on the protest line, and you determine in your heart, is this person who is on the protest line fighting for what we want? And since I believe the answer is yes, because I believe I'm fighting along with those who are on the protest line with me for what Guyana needs, then you should be backing that fight and stop asking for absent leaders. Absent leaders might be absent for good cause. They might be looking after things which they consider, or things which are indeed more important. Stop blaming. Stop passing the buck. Play your part. Play your part. Because if you play your part, you can demand that the leaders who are absent play their part. The Private Sector Commission can only control Norton as much as the citizens, the followers, the supporters of Norton and the PNC allow the Private Sector Commission to do it. Why do I say that? If hundreds of Norton supporters were to turn up in front of Congress Place and say, come out and let me protest Regent Street, it's come out and let me protest Regent Street. Have you ever noticed when the sugarcane workers, Gaitsuko workers are protesting, as soon as they say, or rice farmers are protesting, or in your Guyanese dominated communities are protesting, as soon as they say elections are come, then go want to vote, the PPP turns up. Have you ever recognized that? They turn up because they recognize it is the people who will determine whether or not they remain party leader and general secretary and get to go back to governmental office and all that. It is the people. So the supporters of the PNC and Norton have to recognize that too. And so regardless of the desires of the PSC, what trumps that has to be the desire and the determination of the supporters of the PNC. What if you all just want to rock back, especially on social media? Right? And ask, is there Norton? Is there Norton? Is there Norton? How you are getting what you desire? Cameron can't say throw Norton under the bus. Why not? Everybody's entitled to their own interpretations. I'm sure somebody has seen me throwing an olive branch to Norton, or a life raft in the ocean. How about that? But you see I throw Norton under the bus, it doesn't matter for you. Right? But why not throw an individual under the bus if it's going to benefit the nation? That's a question to ask. Why not? I don't mind throwing an individual under the bus if it will benefit the nation. Jack Dio represents a recognized personal benefit for himself and his cronies. And he threw Janet under the bus. He said, you're a private citizen. You ain't got no right, you ain't got no local standard in what this government does. Isn't that so? Huh? So you could see it how you like. I'm not speaking out of ill will or malice. Right? I'm not speaking out of ill will or malice. Y'all got to work it out. But on the flip side of the coin, recognize this. If the PPP dresses up a frog, a snake, a crab, a catfish, and say this is the leader, by all means, this is the leader. Right? By all means, this is the leader. And so with all the corruption allegations against Jack Dio and so on, the Sugate, and being a philosophical racist and all of that, all of those things that were thrown at Jack Dio, all the mud that Jack Dio should be covered in, it didn't stop or doesn't stop the supporters of his party from rallying around him. Right? Didn't and doesn't. And so the PPP remains unified for the greater part, regardless of the challenge that they have to confront. And so one can argue that Indo-Guyanese, for the greater part, remain unified, rallying around Jack Dio and the corrupt cabal known as the PPP, regardless of the challenges they confront. And they say in unity there is strength. And so you're seeing, for the most part, they are winning. They are winning not because they are better at what they do, but they are winning because the opponent is lethargic. The opponent is not fighting back. The opponent is not unifying and strengthening its base and strengthening itself to fight back. All we do is blame leader. Where's Norton? God damn it. When your father walk out on the family, you don't sit back and die and ask where's daddy. Your mother make do. Roles have to change in the homes. And sometimes when things get tough for daddy, you walk out, he comes crawling back in to the rescue. Right? So sometimes we gotta move past leaders. We have to unite as a people and pull our leaders along with us. I'm going to take this one. Call A Live, good morning. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Are you open now to the callers to make calls?
Yes, the line is open. You're actually live right now.
Okay, thank you. Going back to Norton and the leadership of PNC, this is a person that I know and I respect, but he don't have the qualities that is needed now for leadership of the PNC. He should be able to motivate, but he's too elite. Now he can get up to the speaker and stand up alone in front of the president's office and other important places, GCOM and things like this. He doesn't have that type of thing. He wants to be politically correct. And that doesn't offer anything in these days. Now, you spoke about Bonham and his leadership, and people admire a good speaker. Those were days of poetic things that had come down from our learning from Britain, that a person must be well-spoken and all these type of things. This is not a different. It's a revolutionist year. One of them could have jumped from one to the other. Now he don't have those qualities. He should step down. The man that should have been there is the guy in Linden, Solomon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your call. This call has just, in my mind, reinforced what I was saying. Right? We look at the personality of the leader. And if we don't see the personality that we want, he can't get our support. Am I right? That's what the caller just tell me. At least that's my interpretation. I hope it was a good summary of what the leader said. And that is exactly the attitude that I'm saying we are not to adopt. Good? The other people, when they dress up a frog and they say is leader. Like it or not, we have all kind of shenanigans which took place to make the fat guy leader or presidential candidate of the PPP. There are people who were angry. There are people who believe that every day is an embarrassment to their party in the country. But you think they haven't closed ranks around him? They recognize that, hey, this is the ticket to lead the country, this is the ticket to lead the country. Close ranks around him and give him the support. Up until this day, 2 years after, we still fighting among ourselves, whether or not I'm too ugly, he too short, he too black, he too handsome, he too good looking, he too charismatic, to allow him and give him the support to lead. We dap on stupidness. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Kadaki. Good morning, everyone in the diaspora. Good morning, all Guyanese. The gentleman in this call was on target. And I saw a comment about someone saying that we are giving credit to the PPP by not supporting Cumberland North. Let's put it in perspective, at least from my opinion. Accountability needs to happen, and it needs to happen with Irfan Ali respecting the Constitution. Because they cannot disrespect the Constitution and do as they have been doing. And it is as a result of no accountability on the side of the PPP, while we are now in an apartheid state, while we are with 1,480, while we are seeing so much economic exclusion. The PPP has been so unaccountable that they've both been dictatorial and now apartheid-like. Now, let's deal with our house.
Caller, no, don't go there yet. Let me stop you right at the PPP. What allows the PPP to be so unaccountable?
Good. Partly for a variety of reasons, but some of the more popular or germane reasons. Partly because they are based upon a caste-based system. They hate African Guyanese. They subscribe to an ideological political mindset. An ideological political mindset which is rooted in caste.
Caller.
Mind you.
Caller.
Yes.
You missed the boat.
Yes.
The question I asked, I'm not asking what informs or causes the PPP to be so unaccountable. I'm asking what allows them to be so unaccountable.
Oh, you said allows?
Unaccountable, yes.
Well, partly because accountability on our part, partly because we do not hold our leaders accountable sufficiently enough, and partly because we allow our leaders to condone what the PPP is doing. Let me explain to answer your answer more specifically. By us allowing our leadership to accept disrespect, violations after violations, then we are saying to our leaders, well, it's okay. You don't have to do nothing. You just take our votes. We give you our votes, and you don't do sufficient. Now, mind you, the coalition is doing some things. They're doing a fraction of what needed to be done. The caller just said, look, some people are good to start the relay race, but they're not good finishers in the relay race. And that's the point, right? We are in a situation whereby we may not have the proper tool for the job. And it's okay. The tool could be used somewhere else. Now, that also brings us, and I hope I've answered your question, is that we, the people, need to recognize that we need to hold our leaders accountable for condoning. Condoning, for example, bulldozing houses, economic exclusion, this amount of death squad killings, this amount of the Constitution when it's been violated. We are condoning. For example, imagine Roxanne George has Curtis Singh has blatantly violated the Constitution, blatantly violated ROPA. And we're doing nothing as the people. We in the street, the grassroots, we have not stood up. Like they stood up in Sri Lanka and said, you know what, come and leader, we going down and remove A, B, C, X, Y, Z because they are in dereliction of duty. If you want to join us, fine. Let me tell you something, people, ladies and gentlemen. It is my belief that we can remove the PPP in 24 hours. 24 hours. Let me answer Kadaki's question more specifically. 24 hours and we could remove the PPP. So all of this here we going on with here is condoning. It's allowing. Like Takuma Ogutse said, we are allowing it. Now, how can we allow it and our leaders not be condoning it? Ask ourselves that. And ask ourselves, how much longer, now that we know we could remove them, how much longer do we intend to condone this? See, it's condoning. Who is condoning? Granger. Who is condoning? Aubrey. Who is condoning? Nagamutu, Ramjatan. They're all condoning. I'm not saying they're not doing. I am saying they are condoning by not doing what's required for the time at hand. That's a distinction. So, what needs to happen now? They need to step up the game. Now, am I the only one saying this? Or are we all saying this every day? This doesn't mean that Comrade Norton can't improve his game. Of course, there is space for improvement. He needs to get more, pardon? Okay, he needs to get more militant. When Comrade Norton was campaigning, Comrade Norton talked at great length about extra parliamentary activities. And all of a sudden, he don't talk about that no more. Right? So when Comrade Norton was campaigning, he was all for militancy. All of a sudden, he ain't for militancy. So you have to ask yourself, what do you call that?
Thank you, caller.
Again, it's condoning. Once again, thank you for listening.
Thank you for calling. Extra-parliamentary activities don't necessarily have to be protests. Extra-parliamentary activities could be what Norton is supposedly doing. Going into the communities and talking with supporters of the party. Right? Let me tell you all something. I don't know about that long-winded answer. The PPP is allowed to be unaccountable because the citizens of this country, of which about 217,000 were supporters of the coalition, are allowing them to be unaccountable. I don't care what anybody says. If the citizens want this government to be accountable, they're going to be accountable because the citizens will take to the damn streets. Stop blaming Norton. Stop blaming Ogonse. Stop blaming WPS. Stop blaming PNC. Citizens to the greater part are suffering. And citizens have the authority, the strength, the power to put this shit to an end. To put it to an end. We always are casting the blame and pitching the ball. We're talking about condoning. If we believe that Norton is not doing right, in as well as opposition leader, it is the citizens and supporters of the party who are condoning his misbehavior. Because again, if they tore up in the numbers and said, we holding you accountable, we holding you accountable. So stop with this thing. Stop with this thing. This is not a David and Goliath scenario, where David had to slay the entire army. How do you, somebody talk about militant? How can I be militant if I don't have soldiers to be militant with? Y'all want a sacrificial lamb, and I keep saying it. Why don't all of us go there to the slaughter? So we could get each other back. Y'all want, God alive, good morning. Good morning, God alive.
You're a bad teacher. You answer the question before you let your student answer.
Oh, you were coming to answer that question?
The PNU government and the PPC is that PPC followers are ride and die. They will literally prefer to die than to see the APNU AFC back in power. And that is the difference. We have people who is fighting a war on one level, and another set down in the gutter that will do anything and everything to stay in power. The mindset has to change. You can't be good church goers when you're dealing with the whores and the prostitutes in the street. You have to change your mindset. Or you're going to keep your wife, you're going to do what it takes to do that. So if you want to be sitting down and pampersetting and act like you're too good to go out in the streets and get dirty, put your life on the line, then this is what and please stop blaming Norton for this and blaming Norton for that, and he's not doing much, and he's this and he's that and he's that. Isn't there, church to some add more MPs out there? Isn't there a whole lot of community leaders and this and this? Everybody got titles. Everybody want to be something. Everybody have a position. Everybody have an opinion. But every single time you call for people to stand and back you up, guess what? The same 5 or 6 people show up. And again, the finger, what's Norton doing? What's Norton doing? He is doing what he can do in the capacity that you allow him to do. If you stand behind him, regardless of how you feel about him, I forgot whatever the hell of Viola, I think that's the name. She was supposed to come into Parliament and make a difference and stand up. She came into Parliament, I have not heard another damn thing from her. Why? Because Norton is not your man? Are you fighting for your country? Are you fighting for your life? Or are you fighting for a particular person to be the leader of your country? When y'all get off the bullshit is when y'all going to do differently. It's all about who's this and who's that and who's where and who went where and who was here first and who was here last and who started it and who ended it and all the nonsense and pettiness. While, you know what? The PPC has one goal, one direction, one initiative. Dominance by any means necessary. And until the APNU, AFC, WPA, all the letters in the alphabet decide that they have one goal, to be back in power, regardless of what it takes. Stop fighting among themselves. When the opposition got together and decided that they were
Caller, you're breaking up. Your call is breaking up. The quality of that call deteriorated. If the caller can get a better connection, certainly she can call back. Let me give you an example, because like I said, I like to teach with examples. How many of you saw a video yesterday call on the line, please. Yesterday, a video was making the rounds with MP Nimaflu Best in Mocha. Agents of the Ministry of Housing went into that community with foreign nationals, Spanish people as we call them, maybe Venezuelans, to dismantle a 2-story building constructed by a resident of Mocha on lands that I hear Nimaflu Best and the others are saying are ancestral lands. Just about 2 weeks after the fat guy went into the community and was welcomed. Let me not deal with the welcome part, but let me look at the number of people who came out to welcome the fat guy. And let us look at the number of people who came out to defend the property of the black brother in Mocha that officers of the Ministry of Housing was breaking down. I am sure that there would be, if I check this morning, 1 million comments on that post by Nimaflu Best. But there weren't 25 persons on the ground there to form a human barricade and say anybody put a hammer to this building, all of we gone so and so dead. I didn't see that. Black people have to come to the point of realization and understanding that unless we unite against this oppression, all of us going down one by one. Unless we stop paying attention to personality for leadership, all of us going down one by one. Nimaflu Best is a beautiful individual. Beautiful in character and everything else. I am sure she is well liked in Mocha. She was out there. And she was pleading the cause of the owner of that property. How many were standing behind her? How many were standing behind her? If those who were out there, they were not up close and personal behind her, like we got your back. They've been 10 feet and 20 feet and 30 feet away, shouting their individual condemnation. Black people got to wake up. I am sure in the days of Nana Colley and Dan Kunchin from Buxton, blood is shed in there. I can't say the same thing for modern Buxton because I don't know the rest. Right? But these are the things I look at when I decide to talk that black people are stupidness. We too divided. We need a community spirit again. I don't know where it has gone. Some of it was sold for filthy lucre. But I can't for the life of me, I cuss all day or all afternoon yesterday. And I pray for come and cuss this morning because you had there for stupidness in Mocha and stupidness in Linden and stupidness in Victoria and stupidness in Buxton and stupidness in all them black people community where the people is allowed to send the goons and come in and do nonsense to you. People have to be prepared to lay their life on the line to defend their dignity. and stop asking about this leader and that leader and the next leader. A lot of our African Guyanese communities have a proliferation of guns. You could always hear some black brother shoot some black brother lash some black brother in the face with a gun, some black brother threaten some black brother for murder with a gun. But yet in these very communities, people, foreigners in the instance of yesterday, come in and broke up your assets, take away your assets, and these guns ain't going to use. You're not using them to protect yourself and your community, but you're using them to destroy your community and yourself. We demonstrate this. You know the blood, sweat, and tears, the sacrifices that went into the man building the two-story structure. I think in any decent society, even if we were in error, some arrangement would have been made for him not to suffer that kind of loss. But here we are in a black community that we say is ancestral land, and the government bullying people, and y'all taking this shit. I guess y'all want Abinad to come down there and form a human barricade to stop those officers from breaking it down. I guess y'all want Abinad to look to find Aaron where we live and give you some warning that this shit ain't gonna be tolerated. Their leaders and their followers. And the leaders can only be as strong as the followers. Call it life.
Thank you, Mr. Gadaki. I totally agree with your frustration. And I want to agree with your last caller. I mean, you said the right thing. We are so stern with each other. But when it comes to bringing out your aggression on the oppressors, we do not see a positive response. We want, like, whoever trying to criticize Mr. Norton. Mr. Norton is not doing enough. Mr. Norton is not doing this. Look around the world. The opposition leader is not in the forefront. There's no opposition leader. It's the people. The people is the strength. Don't worry with opposition leader. We sit here and we complain all the time when we criticize people for making constructive criticism. But you sit there waiting on somebody to fight your battle. You are damn right. Now,
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning.
Kissed by the warm breezes of the Caribbean, this orange beauty has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, large modern kitchen, and a living room with an open concept. This lovely home is within walking distance to the sea, where you can take a dip in the salt waters and feel refreshed. Verone's cheerful country manor, located at Tushin, West Coast Demerara. Bookings are available on Airbnb. Contact Veronica at 516-524-1559 for more details. We hope to see you soon.
Good morning to you. Welcome to another program of BUXTONIAN Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is now 24 minutes past the 7 o'clock on the 26th day of September in the year 2022. Welcome to the program. I trust you had a great weekend. Sorry for those of you who were expecting Kams Saturday Rhythms Saturday, but I did indicate on Friday that Annalisa Lacan Hinds was going to be buried on Saturday. Those of you who can remember, Annalisa is the young lady that died as a result of that vehicular accident at Monrepo, or in the vicinity of Monrepo, somewhere around there. The 9th, I think, yes, it was the 9th of September. And so she was laid to rest Saturday last because of my quote-unquote friendship, closeness to the family. I had to read the eulogy, some people call it the obituary, and so yes. In Buxton we bury our dead late. So by the time they were finished with funeral and sealing up tomb and so on, and they had repast and all kinds of things going on, naturally it was too late to do do that thing. What we call it, that thing. Yes, Kams Saturday Rhythms. So sorry for those of you who felt neglected. My neglect is never willful. I can't be accused of willful neglect. But I can be accused of willful neglect. Whether or not you can find me guilty of willful neglect is a different thing. But I trust you, and I believe you would have found alternative entertainment or otherwise things to keep you occupied over the weekend. I hope that sincerely you are well rested, you've recuperated, you've been able to put a lot of the negative energies of the past week behind, and come to this week with a renewed focus and determination to conquer. Yes, face your fears and conquer all those things which are ahead of you. We have a lot that is happening in this country, and so a lot certainly is ahead of us this week in terms of the continued fight for democratic practices and the continued fight for electoral integrity. I know that, and on that point, let me say to you that tomorrow is Tuesday, another Tuesday. I intend to be in front of GCOM again, with whoever will turn out to support me. So those of you who are here and listening, you can tag others and let them know. The protest continues tomorrow in front of GCOM, 3 o'clock in front of GCOM. I am reassessing the strategy, and so you will hear somewhere along the line. And as a matter of fact, at the beginning of October, I intend to change the strategy. But not to say that I'm letting GCOM off the hook. Good. I want us to talk this morning about what are some of the things that can be done to make this government, this installed cabal, more accountable. Because it seems as though Guyanese citizens, a whole lot of us who join this program in the mornings and other programs, evenings and so on, are of the opinion that we don't have the best governance. We don't have the best group of people governing this country. But that's as much as we can agree on. Good? It seems as though that's as much as we can agree on. People do not seem to have oneness of intent to hold this government accountable to the people. A oneness of intent to ensure that the resources of this country are distributed equally and fairly to the people. And so when we can't have that unity, we can't have that oneness of thought, that oneness of intent, it means that we are working at cross purposes. Because some people are saying, hey, we need to protest GCOM, others are saying, why left GCOM alone? Some people are saying the opposition needs to sit if it is ever invited to the table, because it is never invited to the table, and negotiate with this government. Others are saying the opposition members must have nothing whatsoever to do with this government. Some are saying that the government should be welcomed into black African Guyanese communities. They're saying chase them out. Like Jack Hughes said, chase the coalition members out. So this morning I want us really and truly to address what do we think should be the strategy to confront or hold this government accountable. I want to say this, and that is why it's important that you talk with people in the street. That is why it's important that members of parliament, opposition representatives, the leader of the opposition, anybody associated with the opposition. That is why it is important that you mix among the people. That is why it is important that you get out of your air-conditioned offices, whether they're at your home or whether they are in rented high-rise properties. It's important that you get out and get among them. Right? It is important that you get out and get among them so that you can engage them on a one-on-one basis. You can talk with them on a one-on-one. Each one, reach one, teach one. Social media has its role. Big meetings have their roles. Rallies have their roles. But one-on-one presents unique opportunities, because then you interact. In your interaction, you get immediate feedback. And so you can argue and counter-argue, if you want to call it that. Right? And it's one of the things I want to recommend. Everybody every day asks, where are the parliamentarians? Where are the parliamentarians? The parliamentarians are somewhere out there. 8 of them are suspended. They will not be paid for the period of their suspension. They certainly have families to feed. They have bills to foot. And so they must be somewhere out there hustling, eking out a living, earning. Do you know a lot of our politicians, on the opposition benches especially, have full-time jobs? Do you know that the parliamentary structure in this country does not recognize the parliamentarians as full-time employees? They're not full-time employees. Guyana's parliament is a part-time parliament. So you can work and be a parliamentarian. I know parliamentarians who are teachers. Of course, we have those who are lawyers and legal luminaries, perhaps. I haven't paid too much more attention to know what all of the parliamentarians on the opposition benches do, but I am sure that some of them are teachers. I can name at least 3 teachers among them. I think so. Good. Vala Lawrence, from my understanding, is an accountant by training. Right? Who else is there? I'm not sure what Christopher Jones does. Chief Whip Christopher Jones. But the long and short is, these are not full-time employees according to the parliamentary structure. So they don't have to be engaged in parliamentary work on a full-time basis according to the parliamentary structure. But if you are truly a representative of the people, then that representation is a full-time job. Trust me, it is a full-time job. I don't sit in Parliament. I don't earn an income from Parliament as a representative of the people. But I represent the people through my activism. And that's what I usually tell people. I'm not a politician, I'm an activist. I've always been an activist since my teen years with the Working People's Alliance, the WP, and I remain an activist with the WP. And I don't wait on the WPA to give me guidance on my activism, because my activism is also personal. And so a lot of what you see me do are representative of my personal initiatives. Yes, I belong to a political structure. At some point, they endorse what I do. They take ownership of what I do. They support what I do. They benefit from what I do. So I can tell you, activism, representing the people, if you're a representative of the people, it's a full-time job. Is it a paid job? Nah. No. At least my kind of activism, my kind of representation is not a paid job. Parliamentarians are paid representatives of the people. And so, yes, ever so often people demand more from them. Because they say to whom much is given, more much is expected. So you have, what, 20-something paid representatives of the people on the opposition benches. And people are asking constantly, where are these people? I saw Varla Lawrence out yesterday. She was on Independence Boulevard engaging the Bishop. I can't tell you what the discussions were. I can't tell you what the representations were. But I can say that she was out there engaging the Bishop. And if you know, if you remember, there's a project going on in that Alboystown, West La Penitence area, along Independence Boulevard from Saffron Street. Saffron Street is where westerly, where Kaicho News is, that road there. So it's from back there all the way to Cemetery Road. A three lane highway is going to pass through the West La Penitence Alboystown area. The people will be disaffected, the people who lived on the reserve for as much as 40 years or 40 plus years, and they're now required to move. The approach of the government is not one that shows humanity. There's no humaneness in the approach, at least originally. It was just, we want the reserve, you have to move. In some instances, the reports were, you had 30 minutes to move, you have 3 days to move. Some of those people are still occupying the reserve, but the works are continuing. And so one would assume that being in that locale, because Varla Lawrence lives right in that area there. I don't know if that's the front road they call it, or back road, or somewhere around there she lives, in the same street with St. Pius Primary. I can tell you that for sure. She lives obliquely opposite St. Pius. I don't know if I'm giving out too much information as to where Varla Lawrence lives. But you have to know too where your politicians live. And so given the fact that she is in that area, naturally there are problems in that area. She's expected to attend to them. She is a parliamentarian. She's a paid representative of the people. Where are the other paid representatives of the people? I don't know for a fact. Well, I saw Nima flew best in Mocha the other day. Sherrod and I, we went up to what, Providence and something, you know. I don't know East Bank geography too well. But we were there, we were at Pretty Paul's thing. So Sherrod is up there doing things and so on. I saw a photograph yesterday. I don't know as the currency of the photograph. I don't know how recent it was taken. But that photograph accounts for 2 more of your paid representatives. It was a photograph with Ganesh Maipal and Jermaine Figueroa having what appears to be a good time with the fat guy. They were certainly gleeful. They were certainly gleeful, right, in that photograph. And they say a picture tells 1,000 words. And so while a lot of us are busting our nuts, cussing this government out, cussing the fat guy out for not doing us proud, not being fair to us as citizens, not respecting our representatives. They were 2 of your paid representatives having what appeared to be a good time with a fat guy. I only became aware of that photograph because a whole number of persons sent it to me. And all kinds of questions they were asking me. What should I know? What should I know? I don't know what the occasion was. Maybe somebody knows and he can share with us. I don't know what the conversations were. Maybe somebody knows and they can share with us. But certainly one of the things which came out of that photograph and the communication that surrounded it as it was being sent to me is that citizens, especially coalition supporters, do not trust their parliamentary representatives to deal with the cabal known as the PPP and deal with them quote-unquote condignly, because they are of the opinion that a whole lot of those parliamentary representatives are in bed with the PPP. Now, how do you explain them being in bed with the PPP? You know, they say politics makes strange bedfellows, right? Old people also say contrary wind make carrion crow or chicken hawk and kiskadi end up the same wire. Contrary wind make chicken hawk and kiskadi end up the same wire. Now, if you observe the behavior of chicken hawk and kiskadi, I hope all of you can remember what chicken hawk looks like and what kiskadi looks like, and you have had the opportunity of growing up maybe in the countryside where you see more of this, and so you can associate. Chicken hawk and kiskadi don't line in the same place. As soon as kiskadi sees chicken hawk, a fight starts, right? Especially if the kiskadi has what do they call them? There's a word, something in a lane. It's not boardlings. It's something lane. Nestlings, right? Nearby. Good. They protect their territory. So they're always at each other's throat. It is the belief of citizens that their representatives on the opposition benches should always be at the throat of representatives on the government's bench or government benches in Parliament. In other words, if you are an opposition representative, you have no business hobnobbing with representatives of the government and having a jolly good time with representatives of the government. That's the belief of citizens, especially on the opposition side. Because from the time you're seen as having a jolly good time with representatives of the government, you are seen as being compromised. You are having your serving of the soup from the table. And since you're having your serving of the soup from the table, and the mouth is muzzled by the food it eats, you cannot be effective and impactful representing your citizens, your supporters. Because you have to have second thoughts. When I speak out against the ills of this government, when I say they're discriminatory and they're apartheid-like, and they're presiding over an apartheid Guyana and they're forcing African Guyanese to the periphery of the society, when I say that, will they come back and attack my sincerity and my morality by saying, look who is talking. Look who is talking. This man has benefited from 10 acres of land from us recently. He represents the African Guyanese society. He is African Guyanese. And so where is the racism? Where's the apartheid? If he has been able to benefit from the system, what is this man talking about? We just approved duty-free concession for him to buy a BMW. What is this man talking about? He has land allocation in several regions in this country, either in his own name or in the name of his relatives. It's the belief of supporters of the coalition, the opposition, that a lot of the representatives, their representatives in Parliament, cannot confront this government the way they ought to, because they are hobnobbing. They are sucking from the teats of this cabal. Dorothy Prince, you just came on and you said, well, I don't know if you just came on, but I'm now seeing this message of my volume being low. My volume meters are reading okay here. It's the first complaint I have of volume. So if anybody else is having a volume issue, let me know. Right? But when your supporters see photos like these, they see it as the evidence to support their belief that the opposition members are so compromised that they cannot effectively and impactfully represent their causes. In other societies, I would want to believe supporters of the coalition, supporters of the opposition who feel strongly about this could have protested the presence of those MPs or those individuals in Parliament and have them removed. Right? Is it possible that coalition supporters can protest, let's say, to the leader of the opposition and have certain individuals removed from Parliament because they are ineffective? Fledglings. Thank you, Claude Warden. Thank you. I know it was a Lynn, but you know how it goes. Sometimes you have so much on your mind, you can't separate them properly. Yes. So, it's obvious coalition supporters are not satisfied with the representation they're getting. Right? But what's your recourse? Can you pen a letter? Can you start a petition to the leader of the opposition and say, listen, we're not satisfied with the representation we're getting from X or Y parliamentarian. And based on stories out there, based on photographs we've seen, based on observations we've made, we believe this individual is compromised and so must be removed from Parliament. Huh? If that were to happen, or if it is easy to make that happen in this society, I believe a lot of political representation, the quality of political representation will change. I believe people's behavior will change. Mind you, I'm not saying that because you are on opposite sides of the bench, you have to be enemies. I'm not saying you have to be enemies. I many times caution a lot of people who give me the impression that they expect their political representatives to be enemies of the PPP government representatives. I don't think you have to be enemies. But what I don't think is that you ought not to be too familiar. You ought not to be too familiar. Because as they say, familiarity breeds bugs or contempt. And I believe it is that kind of familiarity which exists among opposition members of Parliament and representatives of the government that allows to the level of contemptuousness from the cabal. Because like I said, if you're eating at their table, you're muzzled by what you eat. And so every time you're about to take political action, you have to look over your shoulder to think, well, it's just last night I was at dinner with representatives of the PPP. What compromising photographs do you have of me at that dinner? It's just last week, I called and I asked the finance minister for a personal favor for one of my relatives. It is a week before I called the Minister of Public Service to arrange for one of my cousins to be employed. And they know all of these things. Will I now be able to challenge them the way I should challenge them? Or will I be thinking, why you gotta look over your shoulder? They got a lot on me. Case in point, a good example, not one of your political representatives, I don't know too much about them. Or I care not to say too much about them. I don't want people to say I'm attacking their character. But I can talk about their ineffectiveness. You remember that woman who did what she had to do, as we say in Guyana, to get a plot of land allocated to her at one of the PPP's land outreaches. And she sang praises to the heavens and she praised the PPP. And she prayed with Sonia Parag, I think, having gotten her allocation. And then the following week, she was on the protest line with us in Buxton. And she criticized the PPP. And then a video started circulating of her praising Parag, singing the praises of the PPP because she was allocated a plot of land. In other words, they set out to show her as being duplicitous. Here she is saying one thing to us because she got land, and here she is saying another thing to the protesters in Buxton because she wants to be identified with them perhaps, or she wants to fan the flame of racism. How many of our politicians, political representatives, parliamentary representatives, are in similar positions? How many of them are involved in runnings with the Ministry of Housing? Because from their past stint in government, they know somebody at the Ministry of Housing who they can call and say, hey, I got a friend who got a friend who wants one of the young professionals home. And they got a bag that they're willing to deliver for it. I got a friend who got a friend who wants to bring in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. And they're looking for a link. How many of you have that kind of skeletons in your closet? That you can make a call to the office of the president of a particular doctor and say, listen, my younger brother is a small businessman. Small businessman. But he needs a 9mm pistol. He needs a license for a 9mm pistol. He got a bag that he's willing to pass to you so that you can distribute it to the relevant people on Brick Dam and in Kingston. And so we can make that happen. You may not be taking anything from the proceeds as a parliamentarian, but you have been tainted by the process. You have facilitated corruption. And so when you set out to criticize the administration, you have to stop, take a few steps backwards, and ask yourself, how bad will this turn out for me? How desperate will they be to reveal everything that they know about me? That's politics, and that is why people say politics is a dirty game. Because there's no loyalty among politicians. I say that. If there were loyalty among politicians, Charan Das would not have betrayed the coalition the way he did. And I can tell you, even in the opposition benches, there are lots of other Charan Das's among the coalition members. I can tell you that. Y'all ask the question why protest is not as vibrant as it can be, or it ought to be, or it should be. Because even among your parliamentary representatives, there is disagreement. Even among your parliamentary representatives, there is disagreement. There is a particular group of parliamentarians from a particular camp who believe, no, we should not protest. Protest is disruptive to business. Protest is disruptive to money being made. People looking like us have the possibility of losing much, much more in the world of business if we protest. And so no, we don't want our people to be to suffer losses. And so we will not support protests. But the other people can suffer indignities. And we will encourage them to suck it up and don't protest. Sometimes I like to mash corns and toes and so on. Sometimes it has to be deliberate, sometimes it's just necessary to say it. I analyze politicians, you know. I analyze the people's representatives, and since they are the people's representatives, I have a right to analyze them. They have a right to analyze me too. And so I will call it when I see it. Several weeks ago, I listened to one of our parliamentary representatives who was a minister in government after the May 2015 elections, May 2020 elections. And every day we cuss black policemen and women. Every day we cuss ranks of the Guyana Police Force. To say, hey, when black people protest, y'all tear smoke them, y'all rubber bullet them, y'all shoot them with live rounds, y'all beat them. Y'all are very aggressive to your own black on black violence. Black on black violence. You don't love your own. You don't defend your own. We curse them out every single day for that. And our point of reference in these days is, look at what went on at Bath Settlement. Policemen in uniform were running from civilians who had them doing it because they were pelting stones at them and running them with cutlasses and all kinds of weaponry and so on. Good. We use that as a point of reference. But did any of you listen keen enough to hear the former Minister of Government responsible for the police say that I told them, I instructed them to not go there to confront those protesters armed? Did you hear that? What did that say to you? Self-preservation is nature's first rule. And when people hear self-preservation is nature's first rule, they think about the individual. But they fail to recognize that that individual belongs to a community of people. And so when you take the old adage, self-preservation is nature's first rule, in its widest sense, it means I have a right, or it is inbred in me, it is innate for me to want to protect my community of people. And so that instruction, do not confront these protesters with arms. Do not go there with guns, whether it is pellet guns or rubber bullets or tear gas or whatever you use to suppress the protest of African Guyanese. Do not go there with it to suppress the protest of these Indo-Guyanese in Bath Settlement. Go there and take your blows. Did you hear that? Did any of you hear that? Did any of you hear that? And so when you reflect on statements like these, and you reflect on behavior that you consider inimical to quote-unquote the black cause, the African Guyanese cause, the cause of the majority of the opposition supporters, then you can't conclude any other thing. There are lots of Charandasses even in the opposition benches right now. There's a representative of the people in Region 4 that I always talk about. I started talking about that representative perhaps from day one, as you see, from Jump Street. And I can't stop talking, because every time these things come up, I remember. Y'all could pick up the phone and call the Region 4 office and ask Daniel Siram for me. How many African Guyanese villages he has visited since he became regional chairman for Region 4? Ask him what representations he has made on behalf of them. I remember The last time we went to Victoria to discuss the issues of roads in Victoria. An assurance was given that Daniel Siram was going to be there because he is responsible for East Coast. Sandy, whatever Sandy's name, what Sandy is he? I don't refer to these people so often, so I don't always remember their name. Sandy, whatever Sandy, man. But the regional vice chairman, he's responsible for East Bank. But he is from the East Coast. And so he made it his duty to meet with those people in Victoria to discuss the issue. But the person who has official responsibility for those Victorians never showed up. But you can always hear of him visiting Indo-Guyanese communities, in many instances accompanying representatives of the government. So you ask yourselves, who really these people are representing? How compromised are they? But like I said, is there a process, a procedure that one can engage to have people removed from Parliament because you have no faith in their representation? Huh? And I dare say to you, if that process exists and it were made to work, you might be seeing the backs of a lot of your politicians, parliamentarians. How can you effectively confront the representatives of the government for your opposition supporters if you're in business with them? Yeah, everybody has a right to look after their financial and other benefits, the interests. But is it ethical for a member of the opposition bench, while being a member of the opposition bench, become involved in business with a member of the sitting government? Is there some amount of conflict of interest there? Is there conflict of interest there? And as I'm talking about conflict of interest, it is also present in the government. Y'all remember that bypass road which was opened a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weekends ago? Y'all remember that bypass road? A minister within the ministry that is responsible for that bypass road once worked with a company along the route of that bypass road. And of all the other business places in the vicinity of that bypass road, that company is the only company which has direct access to the road. Y'all think you understand me? It is the only point of that road where there is a quote-unquote detour that puts the road directly in front as a direct link to that property, that business place. Y'all could investigate and you will recognize that Japarts is the only business on that route that has a direct link to the road. You can swing off the road and into Japarts, swing out of Japarts and onto the road. And a diversion was necessary to make that happen. And then investigate Well, by now you know the ministry that is responsible for that road. And so you can, as we say, put two and two together and conclude which is the minister that was responsible for that conflict of interest. That minister last worked with Japarts. I understand he was getting a hefty salary, $500,000 or thereabout monthly. The question is there, was he only an employee or he is an investor in the business? Is he one of the beneficial owners of the business? Let's talk about that. So the question I'm asking this morning, it's 10 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. And I want us to have a lot of time to discuss this. What really do you think needs to be done to hold this government accountable? What needs to be done? Can you really rely on your parliamentary representatives or not? Some people are of the belief, look, we ain't gonna be parliamentarians forever. We might not even have an interest in being politicians, representatives of the people forever. You notice a lot of them who were in the coalition government after the coalition was put out of government just disappeared into thin air. Where did they go? They weren't known political representatives and activists prior to 2015. They weren't seen in that capacity. But for the years of government from 2015 to 2020, they were present and were wielding governmental authority. But once that governmental authority has been removed because they're now out of government, they disappeared again. You don't know where they are. And so it's natural to think this is just another opportunity to put these people into the corridors of power, where they can utilize that connection for selfish gains. As a member of the opposition bench, you come into contact every parliamentary sitting with a minister of government. And if you have a wonderful relationship with, or you developed a wonderful relationship with those ministers of government, you can move mountains, man. You can get duty-free concessions of vehicles with unlimited capacity. You can get access by just picking up a phone and say, hey, this is MP Tam Jones from Region 13. Can you facilitate X, Y, and Z? Of course we can facilitate, because there will come a time when we want you to facilitate. And you'll be doing that at the expense of your community. Lines are open. 6225933 is the number to call. I hope I haven't bruised people's egos and I haven't mashed people's toes that they have to undergo surgery. But that's me. I can only talk. They say from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And so when I look around the society and I see all of the duplicity, I have no get out of jail card. I am forced to confront these things, especially when the people that I claim to represent or want to represent or I'm involved in activism for ask me to address these issues, I have no get out of jail card. I simply have to address them with honesty and quote unquote pureness of heart. Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki. Good morning, everyone in the diaspora. Good morning, all Guyanese. This is a situation like dealing with my children in my household. You love your children, but there are times when you see your children misbehaving. They're doing things that are not good for the house. So we can either spare the rod and spoil the child. And the fact that we at times may do some spanking, the children may not like us, but we can either choose not to spank or to condone and allow the child to do all the things which are not beneficial to the house or the family. And so is the case that you're raising this morning, and a lot of things you raised this morning. So I can't touch on all of them, but I'm going to touch on one. As I've been saying repeatedly on this show, that we have been condoning as supporters. We have been allowing as supporters. You know how so? When we look at Sri Lanka was raised on this show several times. When we look at Black Lives Matter in New York, you know, across the United States, do you know that Black Lives Matter got the attention of Joe Biden when he was running for presidency? He said he wanted to meet with Black Lives Matter. What was that all about? How would the president want to meet with a protesting bunch of people? Because what? Because they stood up for a cause. They held the system accountable. I'm talking about the people. Black Lives Matter. So much so that the powers that be on high came down and said, I want to meet with Black Lives Matter. In Guyana, how do we get the attention of the coalition and the attention of the PPP? How do we get that? And that's the question you've been asking week after week, and I can't understand it. And there are two parts of that. There are two parts. On one side, we must hold the coalition accountable. And additionally, we must hold ourselves accountable to do what was done in Sri Lanka, to do what was done in Black Lives Matter. And I encourage our political leaders and our social media platform advocates to stir the narrative where we can begin to talk that we must begin to behave like Sri Lanka. I think we have that power. That we must begin to encourage that discourse. That we must take matters in our own hand. That we must have this orderly conduct. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Look, I don't support what happened in the United States on January the 6th on the insurrection. But let's ask ourselves this question. Those people that had the insurrection supported Trump. To them, they believed that their rights, in their mind, their rights were being violated. I don't believe that, but they believed it sufficiently enough that they took matters into their own hands to facilitate what they perceived to be protecting their rights and their democracy. So what did we do in Guyana? Because we obviously are of the opinion that our rights are being violated. And what must we do to protect that? And that's a decision that we have to make. But we can make a decision individually, but at some point in time, we have to coalesce. We have to come together and solidify that intent. It's a democratic exercise to stand up for your rights. It's a democratic exercise to defend the right of self-determination. Us standing up as Sri Lanka or Black Lives Matter to defend our right to self-determination, not even Nandalal can interfere with it. He will try, but he'll be on weak grounds. To stand for your right to self-determine, to determine how you are governed equitably, democratically, legally, constitutionally, is the greatest right you have. Now, I want to tie this in to what I saw happening with our parliamentarians shaking hands and skinning teeth. It's okay to be diplomatic, but you must be diplomatic and show political courtesy when political courtesy is deserved. Political courtesy is deserved when sincerity is happening. If the PPP are being sincere in their actions in Parliament, then we respond to that in a reciprocal way by shaking hands, by pleasantries. But you don't see the United States shaking hands with North Korea. You don't see the United States shaking hands with Iran, or Russia, or Fidel Castro for that matter. And why is that? Because the United States feels that if you are not sincere to the process, then to hell with you and shaking your goddamn hands. Because shaking hands is a way of a pleasantry, a formality set aside in diplomatic decorum to say, yes, you're sincere and I am worthy of shaking your hands and you'll be worthy of shaking hands. It's an outwardly show of condoning satisfaction. So when we shake hands with the PPP, who have just fired 8 of us in Parliament, who were giving out monies to the PPP people in a pandemic and passing the house of APNU supporters and black people, what business we got shaking hands with people like that? What message are you sending to your people? It's very unwise to do that. And that's part of the condoning. If I'm shaking your hands and I'm kissing you on both sides of the cheeks and I'm smiling with you, then it makes it very hard, almost impossible for me to come out in the morning and protest against you in the PPP. That's what that shows. It shows that the coalition is compromised. That's what that photograph shows. It shows it outwardly. It's an outward show of compromised. That's what it says. I don't need Comrade Norton or Granger or the guy from Linden or anybody to tell me. I saw for myself. So then we got to decide how much further we go with these clowns representing us. Clowns! Now, that doesn't take the PPP off the hook. I want the PPP gone yesterday. Because they are the greatest threat to democracy anywhere in this Western Hemisphere. They're about the only racist party we got anywhere in this Western Hemisphere in Carrico, the PPP. Together with their cohorts over there in Trinidad. So for as much as I think we need to hold our coalition accountable, we need to get rid of the PPP outwardly. And we have got to come to this kind of mindset whereby we shouldn't be intimidated to talk about these things. Like I said, I love my children. And sometimes they gotta get a spanking. That means I don't love my children anymore. So I love the PNC. I love the coalition for its potential. Its potential. But let's allow it. Let's encourage it. Let's hold it accountable to live up to that potential. Once again, thank you for listening.
Thank you for calling. The lines remain open. In which other country will political opposition sit back and just mumble When a sitting member of government, a sitting minister of government says, when the residents of the geographic area which you control can vote for the political party that I'm a member of, then is when they will get proper development. And the place remains quiet. The status quo remains the same. Which country, which self-respecting politician will allow his or her opponent to make such a statement and rest in peace? I mentioned it to you guys last week that I wanted to talk about it. The Fisher Bishop at the commissioning or the visiting of a road, a farm to market road in Barbies. Farm to market road in Barbies. I'm not sure I could find the picture easy. Oh, I think I might find it. And I downloaded it, but I ain't able to look for them. Right? A farm to market road in Barbies. Call over the line. Look at the quality of the road. What happened, man? Come. Don't make me miserable. I don't want to be miserable this morning. Stick with me. Yes. Look at the quality of the road. Being constructed. You see the quality of that road? That's a farm to market road. Many of us in the African Guyanese villages don't get access to that quality road. Many of you in the city, the capital city, don't get access to that quality road. Go through Sophia. Go down Lamaha Street, east of Vicendian Road. Go into communities like Alwayston, West of Penitence. Those are city wards. Go and check them out and see if you see that quality of road inside here. Right? But one person commented on the quality of this road and said, wow, farm to market roads are better than we have in the city. And the Fisher Bishop, the minister responsible for infrastructure, had the temerity to respond, to say, yes, we're doing good. And if the supporters, if the people in the city vote for us, we will start to do more for them and City Hall. Now, which self-respecting politician? Hubert Singh is the mayor of Georgetown. He's a representative of the coalition. Who represents, or which represents, more than 200,000 voters in this country, and for which the city dwellers overwhelmingly voted for them that they can control City Hall, city government. And you have not heard, well, forget here, because a lot of people make small talk. You have not seen the coalition and its representative through Ubraj Narain and the coalition councillors call out the people of the city and say, let us confront this minister and his government and say we will not stand for it. In which right-thinking society these things happen? In which right-thinking society? Call A Live, good morning.
Good morning and happy good afternoon. The people gotta know what to do because the bishop is threatening people. When you meet up with people who threaten you, you have gotta make up your mind to show them that the threats cannot affect. When the people of Region 4 want to take on and accept what the bishop said that they got to vote for them, the people should move in bands and not vote for the PPP. When the outer world, all those diplomats who been coming from outside, they don't touch down at Buxton and then I'm telling you, they gotta come through the city. And when those people is sitting down and they're talking about the one and the one, this thing owes people to come and visit. People to, I can't remember the word right now. Yeah. They want tourism. And if the gateway to tourism is the Georgetown, because the people in Georgetown are new AFC orientated and they didn't vote for them, we don't walk in the little mud. But the foreigners ain't gonna come and break up the foot and the shoes in those bad roads. So the bishop, as he is fully known, is a complete thing with the two long ears moving along. And the people gonna pick up though. Now I saw a story with Nigel, Apostle Nigel London wife in an incident where a Spanish, probably a Venezuelan, damaged the back of her car driving into the back of the car. And once you drive into the back of a vehicle, you who driving is the wrong person. Anyway, the matter was on hand. The person who caused the accident refused to go to the station, claiming that they did not have the relevant documents. Now you see where Guyana is going down. Don't mean that these people who are refugees in this country, and that is one thing I reflect with President Green, before to allow them to come in here to get refugee status when we and them got body issues. Now they could run in your house, kill you, do you all kind of thing. And the police would not do them anything because they going to say they don't have the relevant documents. Alright guys, the black over the Venezuelans now really taking over the country. And remember the wicked witch from the north. They said that we were supposed to respect these women who coming out broke up the house, even after the men broken up people's houses. Now last night, the last thing, I was on Rick Ford Park show. And Rick Ford brought out a lot of things where Seed is now trying to extend the law of cyberbullying way to the north, United States of America, in a country where those people have the right to freedom of speech. When Rick Ford explained the whole story, you saw that there was no grounds of cyberbullying. And you listen to the different things. Now, up to the other day, the FBI came to Guyana to investigate Seeds again. And the things that you say that lots of members may be embedded in collusion with the fraudulent entire regime, that could be a fact. Because look, we decided to come out and protest for the cleanliness and so on. And you have not seen anybody from that side coming and lending a shoulder towards the protest. Now where we get you, because we will get you with it, everybody is going to be benefiting from somewhere because of put up the barrier. And when they put up the barrier, they told us to remove from the people remove. Not that when they put it up after you go there, you didn't remove. But we removed and we didn't got a leader among us today. And we did it. And we will still stand up and do what we have to do. Friday night, my bench club was with this woman, the one who got to get 20 million from the good Chinese man for, and he told her, he said, there is a need for you to come and show yourself that you're still in the fight, so that people will still get voice and heart to know that the opposition is still in the fight. And when you don't appear and you stay away, people losing hope. So when election time come up, people gonna say, as a normal person would say, you see them now that they want you for vote for them. But the opposition got to remember that this is the time when they got to work. You may not be able to attend everything, but come out and let people see that you are still in the race, even if you don't want to put out everything in the open, because when you put out things in the open, the fraudulent regime snatching it and running with it. If you got a little protest, somebody appear, and they're going to give us strength to know that we are not neglected by them. Come out and show your support. If it got 3 days protest, make certain out of the 3 days, at least 1 day, somebody from the opposition come and stand up a little bit and give us the strength. That's all we are asking for. And the other part, the other thing that people won't take up. But those are my points, and I hope that all those natives who are attacking Rickford Park got Backings and got belly, because Rickford Park is no fool out there, and he is not going to allow Winseed and the ignorant group what he got to keep running, as like the story with Sancho Panza and Dan Bizzle. Winseed is like Dan Bizzle and the rest of them like Sancho Panza. If you never read about it, you must be, you do the small, then read the book come out before you must. Sancho Panza and Dan Bizzle. That is Winseed. Running to windmill, that Dan Bizzle was an old-time general shop. See the big windmill spinning. Right down and start to. That is the army approaching us. We got to attack. When all the man, that thing is a windmill. He push the man, then the man go, all two of them naked dead. Now the time we see ourselves the sheep, he said there's another army who are approaching them to kill them. Make the man run it with 4 block of sword. By the time he charged the sheep, the owners of the sheep nearly killed them. That is Winseed. And Winseed running into Rickford Park. Rickford Park is like the owner of them sheep and the windmill, and he's going to destroy Winseed clean. That is my contribution for today. You'll see me tomorrow.
Thank you, Rondo. Rondo said those books were off the shelves before I started going to school. Yes, Rondo? Yes, she said those books were off the shelves before I started going to school. Maybe Don Quixote, because I don't know him. I read a book about Don Quixote. Right? Yes, the man who was fighting windmills. Preference before. Good. The lines remain open. 6225933 is the number to call. It's now 20 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour. Remember, I'll be out there tomorrow. We will be out there tomorrow. 3 o'clock is the assigned time. We're going in front of GCOM. GCOM usually meets on Tuesdays, and that is why Tuesdays are so important for protests in front of GCOM. It is when you can be certain that commissioners and the chairman of the commission and so on are likely to be in the building. They meet from 1 o'clock on Tuesdays generally. Forget you. Yes. Sorry about that. Yes, so GCOM meets on Tuesdays, and so the commission is supposed to be in full sitting on Tuesdays. And so let us go there. Let us go there. 3 o'clock is the appointed hour, but they meet from 1 o'clock. So if any of you think that you want to go there from 1 o'clock, you can hit me up, you know. Just message me and say, Mr. Amsterdam, let's go from 1. So we'll be there for the start of the GCOM meeting. And I am sure we can work that out. So just hit me up, you know the number 6225933. Let's go from 1. You can tell me that and we can go from 1. I have no problem with that. Good? At the end of the day, we can point out all the weaknesses of the system. We can point out all the weaknesses of the political representatives. We can call them corrupt. We can call them compromised. We can call them what we want. But at the end of the day, the power lies with the people. And until such time that we are prepared to use the power as the people, power to the people, we are going to continue to have weak systems. We are going to continue to have corrupt and compromised politicians and other representatives of our interests. The onus is on us to use the power that we have to keep them in line at all times. I have seen videos on social media where in Latin American countries, political representatives get pushed overboard and so on by people who they promised bridges and did not deliver. And when they turn up around the next election cycle, the people took them right where the bridge was supposed to be and pushed them overboard. Some of our political representatives perhaps deserve that kind of treatment. Call it live, good morning. Whether you push them proverbially overboard or otherwise. Call it live, good morning.
Good morning. Lucky, I think the whole system, can the whole system be revived and get people to come in and able to sit down with them and to change their policies? Because if their policies are not changing, you cannot, these people are not going listening to what you guys are saying or what the rules are. They're not following the rules. And because the rules is not probably in there, but if you do something, you be charged, take to the courts, and once they find you guilty, you serve time and that's it for you. You cannot serve again. So I think this is what needs to be done because I cannot see people are blatantly day by day, year after year, doing the same thing over and over and over again. And no one, the other side is not saying anything of what wrongdoing they're doing. They just sit down and never allow them to do it. You cannot allow people to do stuff. So now, when you really want to put your foot down, nobody is listening to you. So who's problem? As you said, you have to hold them accountability for what they are doing. And you cannot sleep in bed with people because if you have a child and a child constantly doing something and you don't put your feet down on that child, she would look at you, suck her teeth, and move on and do what she wants to do, or he. So this is exactly what is playing out here. one is coming out when things happen. You're the only one I see putting out things there that this happened for the past. Then after the opposition are coming out and talk about it. And why? It's already done. Said. And people just, they don't call them to let them know. They call other people and other people's out there with it. Why? Because they just sitting there and people just fell up and tied up in nonsense. Good afternoon, have a good day.
Thank you, caller. I had a thought, but it went through the window quickly. Who knows? Maybe it will revisit me. The Leisure Minimum 622593 is the number to call. Right? Oh, it was a comment I saw on the live. Sharon C. Austin is saying the protest would be more effective if allowed directly in front GCOM. I hate it till to Main Street. Those police will be out early. I tell you already, I don't like naysayers. Y'all don't come here and be dumb mouths. If you don't have an encouraging word for protest, don't come here and talk. Good? Sharon, say let me address you directly. I think on Main Street. I hope I know my geography. This protest takes place at High Street, just outside the gates, or the walls, if you can call it, the fences of GCOM. This protest takes place at High and Kawan Street. Right? The barriers are placed in line with the southern gate, not as gate, the southern fence of GCOM, if you're coming from downtown Georgetown. And we are just outside the barriers. Right? So we are in close proximity to GCOM. We are within earshot, or the operatives of GCOM are within earshot of us because we're using a bullhorn. Now, if we want to get directly in front of GCOM, as I did one day last week, we have to be smart. The police expects us to start protesting at 3 o'clock, and so they will have their barriers in place for 3 o'clock. So if we turn up at 3 or thereafter, the barriers would have already been in place. We can't pass the barriers. If we only pass the barriers without the police permission, we are going to be charged for breaching a police barrier. Understand that. But as I demonstrated last week, if we were to get there earlier, if we were to get there before the police barriers go up, we have a right as citizens to go and stand in front of GCOM. And they can't remove us. Well, they ought not to be able to remove us. And so if you want to get directly in front of GCOM for the protest, then what do? You turn up when least expected. You turn up ahead of the barriers going up. And so Sharon C. Austin, assuming you have an interest in getting in front of GCOM directly to protest, set the time. Call me and say, let's go at this time. I'll be there with you. And it can be arranged. I'm sure it can be arranged. Good? Like I usually say, don't cause the darkness. Light a candle. Don't cause the darkness. Light a candle. Join the protest. And you can lead. Rhonda said when I was absent a few weeks ago, or the first or second week because of the car trouble I had, they didn't go looking and say Kidaki is not here, the leader is not here. They continue the protest. Right? I want to say this to you, Rhonda and others. You are all leaders. You are all leaders. And so you're leading by example by coming out every day to the protest when there is protest. And so if I don't turn up one day, that shouldn't stop the protests from going on. Save and accept that I usually have the placards and so on in my vehicle. But it also says that if you're coming to the protest and you roll a sheet of cardboard with your message in it, If I'm absent or not, the protest can go on. Good? And you can also protest without placards. So the protest can go on whether or not I'm there. You guys are already leaders. You are leaders in your own right. Trust me. And so there are days when I could just play Rock Back George and stay home or deal with something else, knowing very well that the protest will go on. Somebody on the ground will take charge and lead. And that is how you do protest. Protest must not have one identifiable leader. Because in that instance, if they take away the identifiable leader, what happens? The protest collapses. So let's say they come up with a smart idea, they recognize an infringement that I didn't recognize, and they arrest Mr. Amsterdam. What happens? Protest collapses? No. Ought not to be. There must be others who can step up and lead. Let us lead together. Lines remain open. Let me see if there are any voice notes. I see someone is suggesting proper protest. You know, if only I could have my way. If I can get 1/3, a quarter, 1/10 of the supporters of this opposition government to stand with me in protest, I am convinced I will make a mess of this city and country. Give me 1/10. 217,000, give me 20,000, man. Give me 20,000 supporters of the coalition of the opposition to lead protest in this city. And you will see what protest is. The scholar is talking about proper protest. Yes, nothing is wrong with proper protest. But there has to be a level of coordination among protesters. Right? So when 10 of us when we are hosting our 5-man protest, as they say in front of GCOM, another 5-man protest must pop up in front of the AG chambers. And another 5-man protest pop up in front of the office of the president. And another 5-man protest pop up in front of the Ministry of Home Affairs. And so in that one day, within 1 hour, you can have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 protests across the city. And oh, it is going to be chaotic. Not chaotic, it got to be chaotic. Because then you're going to see authorities and police run around like headless chickens to find resources that they don't have to put towards protest. And so you will be disrupting the norm without them having to touch Regent Street. Because a lot of them expect you to go down Regent Street to disrupt so they can send their goons to loot, and so they will blame you for that. But I'm not there yet. I don't believe we're ready to go down Regent Street. Because they're going to send the goons. They're going to create another Monrepo. So they can get an excuse to shoot us up and arrest us and call us hooligans. We're ready for that. We can be more sophisticated. We can protest all across the city. But what it calls for? Willing participants. Coordination. And so yes, scholar, yes, voice note, yes, messenger, pop-up protests can be wonderful. But we can only organize pop-up protests if there are people willing to protest. And based on the numbers, you might say, well, They're just a willing few. Good. 5 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. I can do another call or two. I don't see any voice notes. Oh, there's one now. So let me play that one.
Mr. Kadaki, good morning. You know what? Let me just say this. We are in a bad place in Guyana at this point in time, economically and financially. The ones that aren't in that place, they know themselves. And they don't care about who the people that are in that place. Now, let me just say this. I am not as a citizen of Guyana, be this person to ignore people's oppression and take it to the level to actually go taking out pictures with them or trying to give them this good name. Oh, the president is mixing with the people, he's down to earth, he's thing. Those people that things like that could come out of their mouth, their bread are well buttered. I personally, I can thank God I'm not punishing, but I am saying, look around and you will see your brothers and your sisters, they are struggling. And you, being that selfish person, would want to say, oh, the president is a nice man. The president is no nice man. Until he can come to that realization that Guyana belongs to all Guyanese and we have to share the pie equally. Black people, Indian people, we have 6 races here. All races are supposed to be sharing that pie and the president will be the good boy. But until that is done, the president, DION, all of them, they are one limb to a big tree. And all they seem to do, they look for good name, photo ops, and all these things whenever the time arises. And we have people who enable it. And the next day, they oppress them again. And they will continue to be oppressed as long as they don't stop their nonsense. The president is not a good man. And he will have to pay for everything that he's doing to the people of Guyana with the money. With the money that he's using nilly-willy, himself and his ministers and all his supporters, they will have to pay for it. The time will come. That time will come. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Can you see I stay a screen there? This is the same road we were talking about. $640 million. All-weather road. Farm to market. Number 58 Village, Region 6. East Barbies Quarantine. Show me a similar investment in an African Guyanese dominated region, and I will show you a government that is being fair and unbiased. Show me $640 million for farm to market road in Region 6. But $56 million for 20 bridges in Buxton, and we sing in the praises. As they say, the president is a good man, whoever he is. Call it live, good morning.
Morning, Quebec, and morning, Guyana. So today, is it the fact that African Guyanese is that stupid that can't see what these racist people are doing? Is it the fact that African Guyanese, most of them are compromised? When we are
that are making some money? Is it the fact that public servants are majority black but can't get any money? True. So when the racist PPP asks for information about facts, they should answer those questions. So here it is. We have in our suspicion Jeremy Figueroa and Daniel Siram, which I've called up before. I have not heard that regional 4 chairman say any damn thing. I believe he was in New York when they held their protest. But when they come back to Guyana, they are afraid to do anything. So all that just tells us is that the coalition have as reference snakes in their camp. And believe me, what snakes do, they really tell and they bite their way. Poisoning the whole of the party. Air fraud, Ali, air fraud should be called out each and every day. And the coalition have and continue to have poor public relations issue. Roads, farm to roads that they are building that is proper, and simply leave the African community in despair. And yet still, African Guyanese are not able to see that. So it only leaves me to think majority of us in Guyana are just stupid. And that's my take.
Thank you for your call, and that's a wrap. It's now 3 minutes past the 9 o'clock hour. And so I'm going to get out of here and get other things done. Let me say to you,
a very good morning. In order to get the full punishment of this clip, the heavy pounding and the generator, you have to listen to it through an earpiece or an earphone.
this is a resident of Sheriff Street still complaining about noise nuisance. Let me tell you what I did. Every single complaint that came from this resident, I sent them to Clifton Hicken WhatsApp number. Every single one of them. And so they weren't sent to him anonymously, because when you WhatsApp somebody, they see the number it came from. Again, in any decent country, the least the so-called commissioner of police would have done is ask one of his minions to call this number and find out what these videos are about or why were they sent to him. Obviously, definitely there are descriptions there, audio descriptions, so he knows what they're about. But like everything else, nobody has a right, nobody has an interest in solving this woman's problem. I'm compiling a video with all of our complaints, and I played for you one morning, so you can get, you're going to get a chronological description of what she goes through, or what the residents in that area go through. I'll have a good day. See y'all. I was saying that Club Twilight is open. It's open during the day now, so you can come down and get a cold one. If you want to watch some cricket or some movie or something for relaxation purpose, you can come down to Club Twilight. Sideline down Buxton North. The doors are open all day, and you can come and have some time, have some fun. Call my number. I'll give you the link. Have a good day, y'all. Goodbye.